Oh, hi. I've got 4 viewers. Great. And fly something. And I think that was Rhiannon, PokePal22. Hi, guys. Welcome. So we'll start. I'll give it a few more minutes in case other people are finding their way here before I get into anything important. Until then, I guess just enjoy this. Which way am I pointing? There's a lag on the playback. Of the preview I can see, but this is just a webcam, I don't know what it is. It's a beach in Maui, I think. Mm-hmm. 6 viewers, all right. Oh, weird, I can see myself in Discord as well. That's a little distracting, so I'm gonna close that one. Okay. Away from the whiteboard is my screen. Like that way. So, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, someone's asking if I want to become famous and I can buy. Is this Twitch spam? Nice. I didn't I didn't know that was a thing. So I'm actually in HTC 327, not 328, which is where we normally have class. It just I already had it. I set up OBS on this computer already, and so it was easier just to use that. But it has a similar whiteboard placement. But I can just show you. I don't know if you probably don't care, but this is kind of what campus looks like right now. Not a lot of people around, and that's I guess how it should be. Oh, 9 viewers. Yeah, it's definitely a bot, but that's funny that a bot has found me. So I don't know, of the 9, maybe that counts as one of my views. Yeah, well, anyway. So I don't know if all of you, I see I have 9 viewers right now, so I don't know if that's all actually people I know, but as you can see in the top, I've put a couple of questions, and, well, 4 questions. I mean, these are things that I am interested kind of to see what's up with you, how you're doing and where you are, and more generally kind of, just more specific to the class kind of questions, like what's going on with your other classes, and then as we think about this particular class, what do you think you need most in order to be successful with this class? Obviously, we're going to be needing to adjust things slightly and changing expectations slightly, so if you have any thoughts about what you need to be successful in that sense, then please share. But we're back down to 8 viewers. Maybe that bot went away. Yeah, well, it's not quite 2 o'clock yet, so I don't want to get into it too far in case somebody was planning to come in right at 2. Oh, I got... Somebody just called me. Sorry, I'm actually going to check my voicemail for a second. I'll be right back. All right, so that voicemail was from my son, who said that he found a pickaxe in our shed, and he wants to know what to do with it. So, okay, let's see. Great, yeah. My other classes went okay on Twitch as far as I know. I mean, I had about 35 people check in, I think, and that's great. It was not too formal. I kind of went over some things, and kind of repeated myself a few times because people seem to come and go. I'm back down to 4 viewers. That's interesting. I'm going to be archiving this anyway on YouTube later, so I'm not too worried about people missing things exactly. But I don't want to inconvenience anyone. So if you're just now joining, I put a link in an announcement a few minutes ago, and that's a link to a Google form where I'm trying to find out more concretely some of these things that I'm posing kind of generically here in the Twitch stream, which is like, where are you right now? And how's your internet connection? Like, if you're somewhere that doesn't have a great internet connection, you're probably not watching this stream. So I'm sending out that form just to make sure that if anyone's in that situation, that they're able to tell me that that's their situation. And I'll make sure to deliver content to them differently. This Twitch stream is not meant to replace a class session or a lecture or anything, so I'll make sure to deliver things differently as needed, especially if a lot of people can't access it this way. Okay, so it's 2, so I'm going to go ahead and get into a bit more. Yeah. Okay, so I think Rhiannon's PokePal22, right? So you said as far as being successful in this class, you have no clue. So let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, that's one of the purposes of my of this stream, is to kind of talk through what you need in order to be successful with this class. So let's talk about what success means and kind of how to get there. Let's get a little specific, actually. Let me go in here to switch this. I'll switch this webcam off for now. Okay, so let me talk about just a couple of basic things that I've done a little differently now in Canvas. So I need to rethink this entire sequence that I've got built in these subsequent weeks, but I don't know about you. It's hard. I'm having a hard time concentrating on stuff like this, but that's my plan. In terms of discussions and assigned readings, I've made discussion threads now for the last things that I would like for you to read. Now, I mean, when we talked about the other day, last Wednesday, we talked about kind of what might need to change about this class, and one of the suggestions was maybe to require less stuff, like require fewer readings. So, I mean, everything that I assigned to you, I think, has a purpose, but there are especially this last little group of things really does introduce a new perspective that we haven't really considered that much yet, so I wanted to make sure to get this in. But as far as required readings, this will be it. So the things that are in the discussions that you see here, those are the last things to read. And what they give us is a set of ideas around different ways to work with literature, different ways to understand its importance or understand what you're doing as a critic. So yeah, okay, so a couple of thoughts there. Let me finish my thought and then I'll get back to that. So let me just say there, so the first 3 chapters from Steve Ramsey's book, then an essay that is in sort of the same vein on deformance and interpretation by Lisa Samuels and Jerome McGann. And this, you can find this in various places online, but this is just one classic source for it. Kind of lengthy, but it's this will be kind of it. And then the last thing after that is a Notes Toward a Deformed Humanities by Mark Sample. This is a short blog entry. But what we're going to see in this sequence is Steve Ramsey saying maybe we can do different things with computers besides just analyzing literature in the way that we normally think of analysis. If you think back to our conversation about hermeneutics, Ramsey's proposing that maybe it isn't just about deciding what a text means. Maybe we can do all kinds of things that are more performative. And then so Samuels and McGann create this word deformance as a kind of, it's a portmanteau of deforming something and performing that deformation. It's a way of working with text that isn't just, what does this mean, and now I know, and now I'm done, but to kind of notice how, it's meant to notice how the work of criticism is this kind of creative act. So that's something that I want us to think about, and that could be useful as you think about what your final project is. Essentially, what this opens up is the possibility that your final project may not be as analytical as some of the things we've looked at already. Certainly not as much as like Andrew Piper's work would have been if we were to continue studying that. It can be more performative, more creative, more silly even, more satirical or sarcastic. And that's something that you get some ideas for within Samuels and McGann. You get kind of a theoretical framework for that, basically to justify it. Okay, so let me see what's going on question-wise. So, yeah, okay, so, Allison, I think that's Allison. You're in your dorm with good internet. That's great. Yeah, I mean, I imagine that the internet on campus will be better than usual because there will be fewer people on it, right? But we'll see. Kelsey, I think it's Kelsey, is asking about coding for the final project. Yeah, same, agreed. Yeah, that seems to be the theme, and so that's why my sense of how this class will change is essentially switching into doing that, right? I mean, just being your essentially your tech support as you try to figure out how to do this for your project. There are different things that you're going to be doing, and so I don't know if it will be helpful for me to stream a particular concept or technique, but that might be the case at some point, especially if there's several of you doing similar things. In the Google form that I sent around, there is a question there if you would be asking if you'd be willing to join a Zoom meeting or something like that. That's where all of us would have cameras and we'd be able to chat kind of real time. There's a lot of other tools that you can do that with, but Zoom is the one that we tend to use pretty frequently. That might be useful, but I wouldn't want to exclude anyone if one of you or any of you couldn't join us that way. I wouldn't attempt to have a whole class session that way. But if several people were working on similar projects, it might be useful to kind of talk through it in that kind of real-time conversation. So just let me know if that's an option for you. And the real question is internet availability. Like, are you able to get to high-speed internet pretty reliably? Okay, so in terms of the final project, a big thing that we were going to be doing at this point in the semester is kind of thinking through a rubric or a way of defining success for these projects. We're not going to have an opportunity to do that, so I'm going to just sort of build one in Canvas, and then you can help me refine it if you have thoughts about it. Yeah, so and as Rhiannon, as you're noting, sometimes if you're doing something more quantitative, then yeah, I mean, you may have different things that help or not. Let's talk about those things. Let me talk about the steps that I think will be helpful for everyone. So if you go into assignments, I added a bit of detail, and still lots to add, but it is still going to be important to create a corpus and a bibliography. So I'm going to show you, I've written a brief explanation of each of those, and I can take a minute now, I think, and show you how to do the corpus part of it, at least some of the basics of it. And I think I'll just kind of work through this, and then if you have questions, throw them into Discord or Twitch. I don't see anyone chatting in Discord at the moment, but I have that window up in case you are. So I talked through this a little bit the other day, and I'm doing this on this PC. This is just the classroom PC. So I'm just going to make a new folder, and this is going to be my corpus folder. And actually, let's just, I don't know what I should do. Let's do, trying to think of an author. My mind is blank. Let's just do Jane Austen. Right, Jane Austen is a reliable author. So if I were to try to work on hers, if I were planning for my project to work on Jane Austen as an author, and I wanted to study all of her works, I would think of my corpus as that list of all those works. And as we've seen already, you can get all these from Gutenberg.org. So let me show you what we would need to do to transform these from just files on the website into a corpus on our computer. And this corpus is ultimately what you're going to be turning in. So let me show you what you need to do to produce that. This is due, it says March 27th. With fewer readings, I think you can probably finish it sooner if you want to. If you need more time, that's fine too. It's really just about being successful. This is the next step, though. I mean, this is what you should be working on at this point as you think about your project, whatever it happens to be. Okay, so this is Pride and Prejudice, and I'm going to go ahead and save this into this folder, Austen Corpus. And I'm going to go ahead and create a naming schema where I'm going to use her last name, underscore, and then first name, Pride. And then I'm going to do, let's do a couple more. Let's do Emma. And so here's Austen Emma. Notice I'm naming all these .text, and notice that the browser is saving it as a text document. That's important, so make sure you do that. It looks a little different on a Mac, obviously. But make sure that if you're downloading text files, that you save them as text files, because you're going to need to work with them as text files. I think I'll just do these three, just because this is a quick demo. And we've already done, oops, this was sentence, right? Okay. So this is, these are these three, and we've already done some of this kind of work with files from Project Gutenberg, so you've seen these processes a little bit. Yes, I guess, is that Alexandra? Yes, I will be putting this on YouTube. I don't know if you can hear me, but I will be putting it on YouTube. I will put it on YouTube right when I'm done. It takes about 20 minutes or so. Okay, so I'm going to show you, this is the file that I just downloaded. All right, so on this particular Windows computer, if I just open and edit this, it should probably open in Notepad. Yeah, so Notepad is a plain text editor, and it's fine for working with plain text, which is what this is. On this computer, there's also Notepad++, which works fine, and there's also Sublime Text. I use Sublime Text on my Mac most of the time, so I'm going to show you what it looks like in Sublime Text. But this is these are all plain text editors, and that's important because they're not going to try to add any formatting. We're trying to get as simple as possible with these. So as we've looked at before, there are parts of this that we probably don't need if we're doing any kind of data analysis, any kind of text mining stuff. And the easiest thing really is just to delete it. We don't need that. We also don't need this legal statement at the end, which is kind of long. It's going to throw off our word count. It's going to add phrases and things that are not Jane Austen's. So, yeah, finis seems to be the last bit there, so we'll go ahead and save that. That's Emma. So that's a cleaned up copy of Emma, and I do recommend doing this kind of cleaning as you download them, so you don't have to worry about it later, whether or not it's cleaned up or not. So again, just cleaning up. You could also decide if you want to keep the chapter information in the table of contents. I think keep it, but I think it's up to you as long as you're consistent. So that's Pride. Pride is cleaned up. So I'm just going to do Control-O to open Sense. And so that's the beginning of that. And that's that. So literally I'm just deleting all the text I know I don't need, that I know is not the book itself. Jane Austen's words, those are all saved, and so I'm going to close that out. And these are all now cleaned up copies of those files. So now my next step is to create some metadata for this, and I think there's a lot of ways to do it. I think the easiest way literally is just a Google spreadsheet. I like Google spreadsheets because they're in the cloud, and so you can access them from anywhere, and easy to work with. Pretty simple sometimes, like in terms of it's not as robust as Microsoft Excel, but it works. Okay, so this is how you make it a heading. So we'll go title, author, year, path, and yeah, that's it for now. But we can add more things like link later on. Okay, so we know we have Pride and Prejudice. We know we have Emma. We have, what else did I get? Sense. And I'm just doing this for 3, but obviously you'd repeat this for however many works you were studying. And the author is the same, but go ahead and put it in here anyway. You may decide later on to add other works. You want to make this flexible so you can keep it going. Okay, so let's see if we have, I actually don't know off the top of my head. Sense and Sensibility is 1811, it looks like. I don't know if that's going to be meaningful as far as what I'm interested in studying, but go ahead and get it because we have it. And what was, so that was Sense and Sensibility. Let's check Pride. When was this published? I saw it near the end, maybe. I'm not seeing it right away, but this is, of course, easy to find. $18.13. Okay, great. And then finally, let's check Emma. Probably a link to it from here. Nope. And yes, I will be, what I'm going to do is actually upload this to the assignment page in Canvas, so you'll be able to download this example. I wanted to show you how to get all the way through the end of it. What is Emma? I can't find publishing. Okay. 1815, great. Okay, so pretty good. So the path in this case is just going to be the file name. I'm going to be saving this metadata information in the same folder as everything else, so it's a local path. And it was just Austin pride.txt, Austin Emma.txt, Austin sense.txt. And again, the nice thing about having this as a spreadsheet is it's easy to add to it. So if I realize later on, actually, I do want to know the word count, maybe, or if I end up with being interested in the vocabulary size. There's different things that you can just kind of know generally about these, and that's something that you could add as metadata instead of having to calculate it every time. So yeah, I hope it's not freezing for me. So Camilla just noted that it might be freezing. It might be that the broadcast is freezing, as opposed to your receiving it. We'll be able to check that later. I mean, I have this little dashboard here, and it says my connection rate is excellent, but that's not always accurate. So we'll hopefully have something that is usable at the end, and I'll share this sample when I'm done anyway. Okay, so I'm going to save this down and I'm almost done with this example anyway, I think. I'm just going to save this as a Microsoft Excel format document, and I'm going to put this is Austin Corpus metadata. I don't like files with spaces in them, so I'm just going to rename it to metadata, and not used to working on Windows that much, and just move that into this folder. So now this is going with that. What I'm doing right now is I'm replicating what you'll do to turn this in. So you should collect all these together. You should have your metadata wherever, but in order to turn it in, this is what I'm going to need you to do. Put all your files into this folder, the one that you've been working on, and then compress it. So on Windows, it's actually a little easier. There's a similar terminology on Macs, but watch how I do this. This is going to create a zip file out of this folder. Everything's already in this folder. I'm going to make it into a zip file. So on Windows, we right-click, and then go to this option here, which is kind of not intuitive. It says send to, and you're going to send it to a compressed zipped folder. And now I've got this compressed zip folder. And now that's what you can upload in Canvas. So on that assignment page, I should make it possible to do this. All I want you to do on this assignment page is submit that corpus, right? So online submission available, file uploads. That's it. So it's a zip file, submit it here, that should work. And then I'll download that zip file, make sure it makes sense. Okay, so I don't know who Jimmy, I don't know who that is, but it looks like they've got multiple screens going, and that seems to be working. Okay, and Mothman is also doing the same with an Amazon Fire Stick. Okay, I love all the different technology being used here. This is great. 14 viewers, so that's almost everybody in the seminar, so that's cool. Okay, so that was it. So the Austin Corpus, that's how I would like for you to prepare your corpus. So you should do that now. I mean, that should be something you work on your own, and that's something that, whatever your project is, every project that you describe to me in your abstracts should have a corpus at its heart. So work on that. The next thing to think about is a bibliography, and that is an assignment that I'm still kind of keeping up here. And I showed you all Zotero the other day. It's a great tool for organizing your research, and I recommend it, but if you'd rather not bother with that at this point, that's okay. But I am looking for at least 10 high-quality sources that are going to inform your project in some way. You're welcome to look at the stuff we've already used and talked about in class as among those 10 things. So if you look on library reading lists thing, there's a ton of stuff here. A lot of it we haven't got to yet, or just I we wouldn't have gotten to anyway, but I just put in here in case it's useful. So feel free to look at all those things. But ultimately, you're going to do two things with each of these that you want to include in your bibliography. You should read it or skim it enough to understand it, and then write a summary of it, and then explain what it's going to contribute to your work. So it might be something that gives you an example to follow, or it might be something that gives you an idea to disagree with, or any other number of things. But explain that relationship within each of those, and that's the idea. Okay, so otherwise, yeah, like I said, the only other thing to mention that's really different is in discussions. I do want you to talk about those things, these final things, and these are it for the semester. So if you need to take your time with that, that's all right. The point is to be please work through it at your own pace if necessary. And Allison has a question about adding works from the corpus. No, those are not part of your bibliography. So the bibliography is secondary readings. The works in your corpus are what you would call primary readings. So those are not counted towards that 10. And also because you're not reading necessarily the works in your corpus, those are just going to be there, and it might be a list of hundreds of things or thousands even, if depending on what you're doing. I think in most cases you're going to be looking at a smaller number, but still you're not citing them individually. Yeah. Okay, so let me see if anyone's replied on the form yet on the survey. Okay, so I've got 3 responses on the form so far. The Google form that I sent through an announcement, and those 3 people have said yes, they would be willing to join a Zoom session or something like that. So that might be what we do going forward, at least a couple times. I don't know, but we'll see. I'll wait until I get a higher percentage of respondents to see what to do with that. Okay, so I guess one drawback. I look like an engineer. Nice. I guess that's a compliment. Sure. Okay, so somebody, I don't know who everyone's screen names are, but somebody asked, oh, hi, Michaela's mom. Hi, Julie. So as far as like day-to-day stuff, right? I mean, we're online at this point, so there isn't as much need to think about here's what to do for a particular day. We're not going to be able to have a real-time, conversation, and Twitch is fine for me to talk to you all, but obviously you can't really bring things to me with that. So here's what I would like, though. Maybe we already touched on a little bit Ramsey chapter 1. So maybe you've already had a chance to look at that. If not, that's something that I think would be good to talk about on Wednesday. So what I'd like for you to do is add your notes or questions about that on the discussion in Canvas, and this is the part that I will definitely summarize in an announcement later on. But add your notes there, and then that may give me some things to respond to in the next session. Otherwise, start working on your corpus, and I think as you start working on it, you may come across issues that you haven't anticipated yet. So start trying to put that together, and then bring your questions to that Twitch session. Yeah, and as Alyssa points out, Zoom can be a little chaotic for a lot of people. The nice thing about this Twitch stream is that it's just me talking, and so I don't have to compete with you all. I want to hear you though, so that's the challenge. But it does give me this much more control, and I guess that's a convenient thing in this case. So yeah, I think I will do this Twitch stream again on Wednesday, assuming, I'm not sure if it's a little unclear if I will continue to be able to access this building and do that. I can probably do it from home. It's just like you all have discovered, you do have to navigate technology a little bit differently at home. So that's something I still need to figure out if that's possible to do reliably from home. If not, I might do something a little bit lower bandwidth like Zoom. And yeah, a Discord voice channel would work. I think, yeah, that actually might be a good idea. I mean, that would reduce the bandwidth need for one thing. So yeah, that may be a good option for this size of a group. Okay, so we'll consider those options, but for now I'll plan on doing another Twitch stream on Wednesday, and your job then is to start working on your corpus and bring any questions or problems you run into, send them to me. and then also start reading Ramsey, add some notes on chapter 1 or questions from chapter 1, and I'll try to respond to and clarify any parts of that. And then, we'll go from there. Just a reminder, I put a YouTube video out about this earlier, but I do have many ways now that you can contact me. If you go to zachwhalen.net/contact, you can get to it, and there it is. You can book time with me in different ways. So book it here, and then reserve some time, and we can do a text chat through Discord or a video conference through something called whereby.com, or we can do some other method if you'd prefer. So that's it. So Alyssa has a question about, there's things coming in. Questions coming in. Yes, so Dr. Draven's Night. I don't know. This is great because I don't know who people are. But yes, Discord voice would be voice only. It could be, as Mothman points out, it could be chaotic, but also within that I could manage it. Like I think I could mute everyone except for myself. I haven't totally tried that out yet, but that's something that's we'll try. And then Alyssa and I wish I knew who people were, but maybe it's better to not know. The grades will just be the final project. Like that's going to be everything for the class. So as far as its success, that's what we're trying to build up to be as successful as successful as possible with that project. So in terms of weighting individual components, don't worry about that. It's just too tricky to calculate. I don't think, for example, that it will make sense to do the exercises anymore. I think those are good to work through in person. I think they're a lot harder to work through remotely, but we can if it's something that's helpful for your particular project. But essentially think about this class now as the final project, and that's it. So Camilla, that's the idea. I mean, so Alyssa, there's no participation grade per se. I mean, it's all just, contributing to the success of the final project at this point. And I think you'll be more successful if you're participating. I think you'll have a better time thinking about what to do. Like the Python notebooks, these are things that are helping you build up and be ready for that project, but at this point I'm not interested in grading or weighting them individually. They are opportunities for me to give you some feedback though, so I want to go through what you've turned in already and make sure that I can understand what you're doing and how you're doing with those. But I'm not planning to grade those individually, other than a complete or incomplete grade. So like if you didn't turn it in, or if what you turned in is totally unsuccessful in some way, then that would be a concern, but it would be a concern that I can follow up with as opposed to a bad grade. And yes, PokePal22. I know that's Rihanna, but I like saying your name. The final project, that'll be the grade for this class. Essentially, it's becoming an individual study for you. So I've got now 18 individual studies to supervise instead of 2. But I've done that before, so it'll be okay. I'm about done with the things that I wanted to make sure to talk about in the stream. So if you have any more questions, it might be good to get them in now so I can answer them on the stream. Otherwise, you can contact me in various other ways. If you have a general question that you think other people would like to know the answer to, then putting it in Discord is a good idea, because then I can answer it there and everyone can see that. But I will go back and answer these questions that you all posed. I will answer that in an announcement too in Canvas to make sure that everyone sees that in case they aren't able to see the stream. And then I will be putting this on YouTube shortly after I finish. So it's pretty quiet here on campus. I was here this morning and there was like nobody, and then people have been trickling in through the HCC throughout the day, and I've seen a handful of people around, but not many. The few people that are around seem kind of quiet, and we're all a little stressed out, I guess. But as far as getting class stuff done, we're getting it done. Dr. Ravens, is this Dr. Draven's Night? You can, certainly, if you think it's something that you would rather not share, but putting it in the public Discord might be good too, in case other people have the same question. So that's up to you, whichever you prefer. I don't know who Eric Draven is, so I don't know. That reference doesn't help me. I should Google it. Oh, is that the Crow character? No. What? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. I'm familiar with that movie. I had not thought about that movie for a while. And so Draven's Night, yes, you can certainly change it from what you originally talked about. I mean, many of you had even multiple plans or flexibility built in, but let's talk about it. Like if it's something that's totally different, that might be, yeah, and same for Mothman. If you have, it is not too late. So especially if you feel like you are thinking a little differently about what you're capable of doing on your own, like more on your own at this point, that's certainly a reasonable change, certainly a reasonable reason to shift things. And so I want to support you with that. But I will not be able to support you as much as I could in person. So if that's something you feel like changing for, then by all means. And Fly Chimmy, if that's Hannah, I do have your senior check sheet, but like it's a formality, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But if you have a question, then certainly that's more of a private question. So maybe private Discord would be the best context for that. So The Crow, I remember I bought the soundtrack, and it's an amazing soundtrack for that movie, and I listened to it over and over and over and over and over again. Like I know it by heart. But I didn't see the movie for a while until somewhat recently, like 5 years ago, and it was interesting how 90s it was, like how much it encapsulated a 90s aesthetic that I hadn't really thought much about when I was immersed in it, and then I saw it kind of in that mode, that sort of 90s goth aesthetic, so like purely crystallized. It was a really strange artifact to watch that movie, especially because there's so little continuity with it, like in the sense of, like Brandon Lee, the actor, like that's it. Like there's nothing else. He died filming that movie, so there's no way that there's very little in that movie that you see as like an echo of something else in culture. It's just this like completely isolated island. And really fascinating for that. And it really, I mean, as a movie, I don't know if I would say it holds up, but pretty entertaining to watch. And I think I haven't heard anything, but basically everything that had a deadline is being delayed or suspended entirely. So there's no rush on it. And if I remember correctly, you're graduating in fall, so I think it's, I mean, certainly we could still. I mean, it's just a signature, so we could sign it in the fall if in fact they even require us to do that. They may not, but certainly no rush on it. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream, and a couple of things that I remember I want to talk about, I'll put into the announcements mainly for Wednesday. Look at Ramsey, write some notes or questions about that. Start working on your corpus. The final grade for the class is just a project, so yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah, I never read the comics for the Crow, although that's what I heard, is that that was very strong, and that whole series was very strong. I should definitely take a look. Anyway, so I'm going to turn off the stream, and if you have other one-on-one questions, specific questions about your projects, then let's put them in Discord. I will say, if you are thinking about switching your project, your Corpus to something else, the sooner you can switch that, the better, because you give yourself a better chance to work well on it. But hopefully, what I explained with the Corpus makes sense as far as putting it together, just the mechanics of that. I'd say keep it simple. That's the big theme here at this point. Okay, so I'm going to shut off the stream. Thanks for tuning in. I'll do another one of these on Wednesday, and we'll talk about some of the ideas, or I'll talk about some of the ideas from Steve Ramsey, and I'll give you any updates on plans or other things going forward. So there I am. I like this view of OBS, like the infinite tunnel, by the way. It's pretty cool. I like how that's the end. Okay, everyone, so I'm signing off. I'll see you later. Stay healthy. Be well. Bye.